Okay, this is Brother Mikey on the Energetic Forum. Excuse me. I want to do some baseline tests for my new set of batteries. I have 29 of these, as a matter of fact, not 25. And to show you, or to show myself that each of the batteries that I'll be using hold a full charge, I'm doing a baseline rundown. Now, I don't have Luke's type of measuring equipment yet. It's coming in the mail. It'll be here in a few days, but I thought I'd get busy and get started. Now I've got this little silly amp meter, and I've got some like this. That's a milliamp meter there. That's 0 to 100 milliamps right there. I've got these type. This is 1 amp, I'm pretty sure. This is the one I should probably show you. And then I have this amp meter, which is digital. And I have other ones. But it's nice to have the big digital screen, isn't it? So, excuse me, my throat is scratchy today. We're having rain. And so here's my 16 amp hour Genesis batteries that I'll be using. And this, and by the way, I'll repeat again, I'm going to be using 2 of these in series and another one to collect the charge through a motor. And where's that motor? Yeah, here's a piece of that little motor I was telling you about. That's how little that cage is right there. It's really small. So anyway, this light that you see over here is a corncob light, and I just have it gator clamped to an electrical out plug. It's like 5 watts, 6 watts maybe, with the inverter. And this is my inverter. See my small inverter? It's that little one you can get from China. It says 200. Probably you shouldn't use more than 20. Take that 0 off. And there's no fan in it. It's a little bit warm, and I'm using a 1/2 of an amp right now. And these cables are only good for maybe 5 amps continuous. So you wouldn't want to go much over 50 watts with this thing, unless you wanted to change these cables internally and put a fan on it. So you can't go by this 200, all this stuff from China. You take a 0 off and then you're good. Alright, so let's take a volt reading. And I started this at 5:30 in the morning, and it's now about, what is it, about 2:30? 3 o'clock right now. My wife's getting ready to go to the store, and I'm going to show you the volts. So it's been running, well, it'll have been running for 24 hours in the morning sometime. And let me get this rolled around. I got this meter set for the lighting on an angle. Yeah, you can see that, I guess. And I'll hook the gators up here. There's the negative, and here is the positive. Now, why did it do that? I'm through the amps. Sorry, guys. I'm talking and not watching what I'm doing. I got it set on amps. Okay, let's do the amps first. Haha. Oops. Here is the negative terminal right here. And hopefully I haven't blown my meter to hell. But I'm all thumbs when it comes to electronics. I'm just your regular guy, so you guys all you master technicians can get a good laugh. But Luke is teaching me something. Luke has shown how you make, good measurements, and I knew that trick through the two caps, sometimes with a resistor in between to overcome pulsing. Oh, there it goes. I got it on volts. Okay, let's get it over here to 20 amps, right? Here we go. Now the light's back on, and you're seeing a very non-sensitive meter, say approximately 520 milliamps. Now last night it started out at 550 milliamps, and it's gone down in almost 12 hours, so 10 hours or so it's gone down. Well, 53. It was 55. There it is, 55 again. So you see, these meters aren't the best, and I'm holding it with my hand and it's loose feeling and stuff like that. I need to do better. I'm just on the run now. I have to leave and go out on the road. I'm wiggling the terminals, hoping that this and these. I've got the bolts, some more bolts ordered that screw into these batteries help too. All right, 52, I'd say. 520 milliamps. All right, let me stop this. Now, we'll put this back on and over to the normal setting, and we'll read some volts. And I'm just running it down, and when it's done, I'll show you guys a baseline. There's nothing hard about this. My 14-year-old son can do these basic measurements with or without Luke's meters. Now, Luke's meters are nice, but for the average guy, you don't need that. And as Luke showed us in his type of measuring equipment, he also come behind it with a voltmeter and other equipment to verify that those meters were functioning properly. So your meters can all fail, and these terminals just are really hard to keep on there. I gotta get some washers or something for this type of battery. You can barely, it just pushes it out. But anyway, well, wait, I wanted to also show you this other meter, didn't I? Let's make sure I got it in the right direction here. Yep. Oh, okay. Let me show you this one too. Now this meter is a 1 amp meter, and we're around a ½ amp, so this is good. This is a new meter. This has not been abused like some of my other blunders. You know, when you're a greenhorn, you mess up your equipment. There's no doubt about it. These are $5 meters, so it's a good place to start for beginners rather than $100. Okay, now we'll put this on there and just tie it on there, because we're excuse me. Oh, can you see that? Guess you can. It says it's actually showing around 500. It says, well, you notice my light is sort of flickering over here. It's kind of flickering, and so is this. I think these little cheap power supply, these little switch mode things are not as smooth for LED lights and things like that, but we're not going to be troubled about that, because we know what our amp draw is. Our amp draw is about a ½ amp. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. Alright, so now we got established that we're running about a ½ amp. Excuse me. So in your C20 rate for a 16 amp hour battery would be almost an amp, wouldn't it? Sure it would. be almost an amp. It's probably, without running exact figures, probably about 800 milliamps in the C20. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Okay, but I'm running even less than that. I'm running a C30 rate, we'll say, or better. So as long as I'm under a C, see what I mean about this? They just want to push right off. I can't keep that post on there, so I've got to do better with my terminals. But anyway, get our battery back going again. Alright, now I looked for one of my old digital clocks that used to go on the bed or something here, and my other clocks just burned out, so I'm going to have to get something so you guys can see the time in the next test or so. I'm going to be doing these baseline tests. They don't take long. Okay, now let's go to the volts and we're done. All right. My volts are going to be like 12 volts and something, right? 12. Now when I got up earlier today at 1 o'clock or 12 something, it was 12.33, and I just shorted some power out accidentally, like about a 20 amp throw. You saw me do it, and now it's a couple hours later, and now it's 12.2829. all right, you see that? Yeah, you can see it. All right, that's it. And by the way, this is slightly warm. There's no fan in it. It's just slightly warm, and the room temperature is 72 here. I wouldn't run these little inverters over 20 watts if you want to keep it. So, but it's a good switch mode. I believe it's 20 kilohertz switch mode, switch mode switching speed frequency, and that's it. I've also got my motor build over here I'm working on, you'll see, and I've got my rotors. I've got another motor. Here is another motor. I might do it too, but see, you can see how much bigger this one is to that one, and these are the little ones. These are the 24 volts, and this is even smaller. You see that? A lot smaller. And then the other one is even bigger yet, though the 36 volt is wider yet. But I wanted to do a real small one for my son, and that's what you'll be seeing coming up. Alright, I think that's all I want to say, except thank Duncan for talking about the temperature of the battery. And I don't have one of those probes, so maybe I should get one of those probes in the course of time and be monitoring my battery if I knew exactly which post I was supposed to monitor. But I know that John Bedini also said that in the Radiant films. See, John Bedini split the positive long before we did, but he did it a different way. In other words, somebody challenged me, and I think it was Ron. He said that I was stretching the stretch of the imagination or something like that, that John Bedini ever split the positive. But he did split the positive. And if you look at the SGs, you'll see that the positive and the negatives, and the two positives, the way he's got it arranged, is an open loop system. That's what he talked about for years. Well, I'm not as advanced as others, so they see it differently than I do, and this is all opinion, and so many more people smarter than me in normal EE or engineering terms. So this is where the conflict comes. I don't really call it a conflict, but it's difficulty in communication is what it is. And a lot of people want to use the F word on the energetic forum, and these grown men want to call each other idiots and fools and all the different names. Shame on you. We have young children here who want to come up in their teens, young men who want to come up on the forum, and they don't want a soap opera. So if you're not sharing, then you're not, if you're not producing something, if you're not showing an experiment, then all you're doing is creating more politics. So that's my opinion. I think it's important that, like Duncan, look at how reserved Duncan was. Look at how controlled he was, and some of these other people like Luke, these are good examples. Sky is another one. Now the rest of you want to sit behind the scenes and run your motors and share your data, and you want to call the rest of us idiots, that's fine. Stay where you are. The common man doesn't need you. All right? And you're going to infuriate by constantly bombarding the lesser to the point where you're going to be completely shut out. And you people, you're walking on dangerous ground. That's all I got to say, because I won't have to do a thing. And that you can take that as a threat or a promise.